Hi guys, so today we are going to talk about the postcolonialism, or also known as postcolonial theory. Now, by simple definition, it interprets any work of literature in our case in terms of the conflict between the colonial or imperial powers and the native society. Importantly, postcolonial theory looks at the big groups of people involved in such a case. It addresses how the groups view each other and what effects occur due to their status as conquerors or the conquered. Obviously, this theory often speaks of relationships between European countries and their colonies. These groups include such large colonial nations of the past as Great Britain, France, Spain, Portugal, and in some cases even US. The essential questions that postcolonial critics ask is which group is the colonizer and which group was the colonized, and what effects of this relationship. This work of this theory could be applied to many works of literature, just like the current Heart of Darkness that we are reading, where the Belgians were obviously the colonizers and the natives of the Congo were the colonized. In another great work of literature called The Things They Carried about the Vietnam War, the post-colonial critics would look at the relationship between the Vietnam people and the French that colonized them. And those who would dig deeper would even look at America and how they act as colonialists.
The Things They Carried is a collection of related fictional short stories all dealing with soldiers' experiences in the Vietnam War. The author, Tim O'Brien himself, fought in the war and created many of the stories from actual events in his tour of duty. The majority of the book spans from when he was drafted to when he left the war. When trying to understand a literary work, some critical theorists thought it would be only logical to try to understand the author first. The historical perspective analyzes the ways in which the author's life experiences affect their work. Looking at the things they carried with this perspective, one would obviously first note that the author, Tim O'Brien, was drafted into the infantry and fought in the Vietnam War. Many of the acquaintances and experiences of the main character, also named Tim O'Brien, bear striking resemblances to the author's own. You would begin to come to the conclusion that because of O'Brien's experiences, he decided to write the book in order to illustrate the horrors of war that he saw, so that readers could better understand how a veteran's time in combat shapes who they are. Someone analyzing from this perspective would also start to wonder how many of the stories in the book are actual experiences that O'Brien had. To answer this, they would probably focus on the chapter, How to Tell a True War Story. In it, O'Brien explains that a true war story isn't necessarily one in which all the details actually occurred, but one that can capture the actual effect the events had. Because of this, the reader could conclude that it does not matter how many stories in the book come directly from O'Brien's memory, as they are all in their own ways true war stories.
New historicism. History cannot be objective. Rather, there will always be a certain amount of subjectivity in any account. New historicism is that, quote, history itself becomes textual, meaning the work should be analyzed based on the time and cultural context of when it was written. New historicists believe historical events cannot be clearly defined, and rather it is our interpretation that leads to our understanding. Instead of focusing on a specific event that may have shaped how the text or work was written, new historicists focus on the ideologies and aspects of the culture as seen through the music or books or children's stories of that time period. In a way, new historicists are the archaeologists of literature. Analyzing the things they carried, new historicists would look beyond just the war and look at the whole time period itself. To the Vietnam natives, the war represented a time of great political and social chaos, and to Americans, it led to a massive anti-war movement and became a decisive and highly emotional political issue. This could have been one cause of Tim O'Brien's apprehension and undesire to serve his country in the beginning of The Things They Carried. A new historicist would look and use the cultural setting to pick apart the actions of the character. A new historicist would also perhaps look at accounts from Vietnam natives and cultural staples such as stories or literature to better understand the story and the author.